Welcome to the video for Monday, June the 8th. This will be our video for upcoming fourth graders. The second chapter in our book, as well as the third, are going to be very heavily focused on multiplication and different tasks. What I'm going to do is introduce some ideas that we're going to have to work with at the beginning portion of the chapter, and then kind of give you some suggestions for things to work on. And until you can get to the point that you can be asked up to 12 times 12 and be able to instantly answer it correctly, I'm always going to recommend that you keep working to get better. The faster you can solve those types of problems, the easier it will be for you to use your time to figure out the other things that we're going to ask you to do. So let's go ahead and take a look at our examples for today. So last year we were working with bar models at different points. We were working with them more for using addition and subtraction, but we are going to ask you to make bar models that represent multiplication problems. So this would be an example of that. And we would say 24 is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 times as many as 4. So keep your factor pairs in mind when you are thinking through how to create one of these. They'll give you the number for the product, and they'll usually give you what number you're multiplying by, but you need to figure out how to translate that into one of these models. So again, 6 and 4 is our factor pair, so 24 would be 4 times as many as 6. One of our other tasks that we are going to ask you to do is use the distributive property. And we did a good bit of that last year, but we are going to be working with larger numbers. So you don't have to worry about being able to use repeated addition to count by 15s to figure out the answer. What we are going to do is take our 6 times 10, write out the answer for that, which would be 60, and then you're going to do the 6 times 5. That part would be worth 30. And then you would add those together. So another way that we could say that we would do that would be using partial products. And that is going to be something that we see a lot in that second and third chapter, this idea of partial products, especially as we get to some of the more advanced things that we will be working with, which I will introduce to you at a different time. The last thing I want to go over with you for today is this idea of expanded form. Expanded form is taking a number like 143 and writing out the value for each place value in that number. So for my ones place, that would be worth 3. I have a 4 in the tens place, so I'm going to put 40 here. And I have a 1 in the hundreds place, so I'm going to write 100. So 100 plus 40 plus 3 would be expanded form for this. And we are going to use that for multiplication. We're going to use it using models, and we are going to use that to find partial products that we can add together to get to our answer. The idea is that we can do this, hopefully, using mental math, and then be able to get to the point that we could just do 500, which would go in the blank here, plus 200 plus 15. And so I could go ahead and add those together. This first part, what they would want us to do is do 5 times 40 and 5 times 3, which is kind of what I just represented down here. What I normally recommend when we are working with this is to go ahead and write inside, just like when we were working to find the area of a particular rectangle, I would ask you to write the number for the area inside that. So you're going to solve all 3 of these parts separately, and then you are going to add your partial products together to get the answer, which would be 715. And so I want you to be comfortable with that idea. We will talk about how it's going to get even more crazy in our next video, which will kind of highlight some of the things before we get into one of the hardest tasks that for some of you that you will do in fourth grade, which is to multiply a 2-digit number times another 2-digit number. And so using a traditional method as well as using that type of model, but broken up so that we are working with more than just 3 rectangles. So one of the things that you can practice is to go ahead and write out a rectangle, kind of similar to what we were modeling before, and start with just using the 100ths place times whatever. And then add in a value for the tens place, and then see what that looks like. Add in a value for the ones place, see what that looks like. So 214 times 5, something like that. And then figure out how your partial products are going to work. That is what I would recommend if you are very comfortable already with your multiplication facts. If you are not, I would definitely spend as much time as you can, just 5 or 10 minutes a day. You don't have to spend an excessive amount of time working on the math facts that you are not comfortable with. The more comfortable and the more that you have these memorized and you're not having to use repeated addition strategies, the better it's going to be for you as we get into this more advanced multiplication work, okay? So if you are on a higher level with that, go ahead and start practicing this idea of working with the model. If you're not, try to get closer to the point that you are comfortable enough that you can go ahead and jump into working with that type of model. Hope you have a wonderful day. I will see you in the next video, which will be on Thursday.